Hello and welcome to ATARC's 2021 Digital Transformation Virtual Summit. My name is Kirsten Patton, Working Group Program Manager here over at ATARC. ATARC stands for the Advanced Technology Academic Research Center. We are a nonprofit that facilitates collaboration between government, industry, and academia in order to accelerate technology modernization initiatives. We provide ongoing interaction for learning and market research. Thank you to our partners over at Red Hat, Savient, Acquia, and Blue Prism Software for helping us create today's summit. Additionally, I would like to thank you all for joining us today. This will be an informative event focused on federal digital transformation, specifically in the fields of emerging technology and automation. We would also like to remind you that after each panel, there will be a Q&A, so please place all of your questions in the Q&A section on your screen during the panels. And I want to also remind everyone to please answer the poll questions as we go throughout today's session in order to ensure that you receive your CPE credits. So with that, we do have a keynote presenter today. Unfortunately, she is experiencing some technical difficulties at this time. So we're going to go a little bit out of order from our regular agenda today, and we're going to go ahead and kick it off with our first technology talk while we wait for Danielle, our presenter, to join us. So I'm going to go ahead and we will hear from our technology presenter, Greg Tinsley. Greg is the Red Hat certified architect over at Red Hat. Greg, will you please take it away for us? In just a moment, we will be hearing from Greg. Thank you all.
Hi, welcome to my presentation on the Red Hat Open Hybrid Cloud Strategy, accelerating your cloud journey in this magnificent time of clouds and cloud native applications and services. My name is Greg Tinsley, and I am a senior architect with a Red Hat Consulting, focusing on all things code, cloud, and cybersecurity. Let's get started with today's discussion, Open Hybrid Cloud. So what is a hybrid cloud? Well, a hybrid cloud is an IT architecture that incorporates some degree of workload portability, orchestration, and management across two or more environments. So some degree of workload portability, orchestration, and management across two or more environments. These two or more environments can be a combination of different cloud types, so your public or private clouds. It could be two of the same, so you can have two public clouds, two private clouds. Can be a mix of a cloud and your bare metal or virtualized infrastructure. It really doesn't matter. The idea here is that we're connecting two or more environments together, and we're looking to accomplish some degree of workload portability, orchestration, and management. Now, as we start to kind of span across different infrastructure types, we have these questions that arise. So, where do your applications and services that run the business live today? So regardless of what kind of cloud they're in, on-prem, on your bare metal service, or in your VMs, most likely, like most customers, your infrastructure is probably using a combination of those technologies. So in some way, you're operating in a hybrid cloud infrastructure model right now. Key though is that you have the workload portability, orchestration, and management across these environments. Now, as we talk about on-prem, an easy way to think about on-prem is that you actually control your own data center. So these are your private clouds, your virtualization stack, your bare metal rack and stack servers that you manage, maintain, and operate. And then when we talk about off-prem, these data centers are managed by or owned by other entities. So like your cloud service providers like AWS, GCP, Microsoft Azure, IBM Cloud, and then the variety of different managed services that exist. You also start to ask yourself, can the applications and services across this hybrid model easily scale, right? Do you have an architecture that is flexible enough to even support uh, this hybrid world? So a lot of things come with that. Like, can you consolidate your IT resources easily? Are you able to scale out and provision new resources easily and effortlessly? Can you move workloads between different environments, right? So, yeah, I deployed it here today, but can I easily deploy it there tomorrow? Um, do I have a single unified management tool? Can I orchestrate my processes with automation, and not just regular automation, but repeatable automation? Like, are you actually exercising your automation often to make sure that the processes are repeatable, fully baked, and well designed? So you want an architecture that allows seamless connections and management all throughout your two or more environments. Well, guess what? Red Hat has had this vision of the open hybrid cloud for nearly 7 years. All right. That's a long time in technology. And this is really our recommended strategy for architecting, developing, and operating a hybrid mix of applications while delivering a flexible cloud experience, and doing it all with speed, stability, and scale that can support the digital business transformation today, tomorrow, and in the future. Now, I'm in consulting, so I'll admit the products and services of the open hybrid cloud are not one size fits all. So, this depends on the scenario, but they all share a common technological features. So we have they're consisting of open platforms, like to give you the ability to run traditional and new cloud native workloads anywhere. So from the data center all the way to the edge. They consist of open development tools, right? So that we can build these innovative applications that are highly integrated and continuously deployed in all areas of the hybrid cloud. We have the open management technologies and systems that enable that automation across, what I like to call people, processes, and technology, or some people like to say applications, teams, and processes. Um, we also have the managed services so that you can consume all of these, various technologies as services and just leave the operations to Red Hat. We have the training and services to support so that you can get all the improvements in your processes, so that you can get the most out of your hybrid cloud approach. And then we have a large partner ecosystem to give customers technologies that are tested, supported, and certified with, I would say all, but I'll say most major cloud hardware and software providers. It's kind of hard to get all, but um, just from my experience, we've done pretty well there. So, having an open hybrid cloud strategy easily allows an IT organization to take the best of open source innovation and use it to deliver results for the business. Three things to note here on this particular slide that's in front of you is that it's clear that Red Hat is the leader in open source for the enterprise. We participate in over 1 million projects, and we participate in them. And we also create community-powered upstream projects. We integrate these upstream projects, fostering open community platforms, and we commercialize these platforms together with a rich ecosystem of services and certifications. So we have a proven history to deliver enterprise open source innovation, and we're doing it with the Red Hat Open Hybrid Cloud. All right, so what is happening in your world? Just think about that, for a little bit. What is happening in your world today? And then I would just ask you what was happening in your world a year and a half ago, right? Big changes. Hi, welcome to my presentation on the Red Hat Open Hybrid Cloud Strategy. Survey, where 90% of the respondents that responded to the survey have said that COVID-19 has actually accelerated the timing of their organization's transformation efforts. That's huge, 90%, right? So do a search for accelerating transformation post COVID-19 world and download that document and have a read for yourself to get some good insight on where you should help you. I would say, let me just say food for thought. I'll leave it like that, and just something to consider and ponder as you continue to navigate. So we know you just have to deliver solutions and business innovation faster. Got to get faster time to market. Got to identify new delivery models, new revenue streams, and you have to continuously improve customer satisfaction, because without the customer, you don't have anything, right? So how do you start to deliver this business innovation faster? How do you do it faster, faster, faster? Well, once again, the Red Hat Open Hybrid Cloud brings everything together. So regardless of your target infrastructure, we can help you create stable and secure architectures. Remember, so stability is one thing, but security is, you got to have security as well. You want to be able to develop with speed and scale your operations with ease. So what this leads is the Red Hat Open Hybrid Cloud leads to a flexible, consistent, and efficient experience. Let's take a look at some of these products here. So, depending on what you're looking at in your perspective, Red Hat has a product suite that can help you at all levels of your IT operations, depending on your focus, for the time. And so as you continue to work towards that speed, stability, and scale, regardless of your infrastructure, we can help you create stable architectures with Red Hat Enterprise Linux. It's been here forever, tried, true, proven. But also, with container technologies, we have CoreOS, which is, our minimalistic container host operating system. So it's not like a regular operating system, which you're used to. It's a container host operating system. We have OpenShift Data Foundation, which is a software-defined storage solution. And then, of course, we have our Red Hat OpenShift product, which is our enterprise Kubernetes platform. So there you go, abstracting away all the infrastructure that you see there on the bottom. Bare metal, virtualization, private cloud, who cares? AWS, Google, IBM Cloud, Azure, public clouds, Edge, doesn't matter. Red Hat gives you that stable architecture. And then, so, once you have that stable architecture, then now you starts to become about the applications, right? So we have our Red Hat integration products, which, provide that service composition and orchestration, the application connectivity, the data transformation, real-time message streaming, and API management. We have our process automation suite of products so that you can create these intelligent automating business decisions and processes applications. We also have the Red Hat runtime technologies, which is where I really love the Red Hat runtime technologies, which is we get all these nice frameworks in that help us create these cloud native applications. So things like Quarkus, we want to build some highly distributed cloud architectures, microservices, serverless. I can come off the top of the head with a bunch of different things, but the runtime technologies, look, it's all about the developer. I tell people all the time, it's all about the developer. Once the infrastructure is solid and booming, at the end of the day, it's all about the developer. But I gotta, we gotta give some credit to the people who manage these things, right? So Red Hat can help you there too. So we can help you manage, these IT solutions flawlessly with Ansible automation platform. We can get you the intelligence you need with Red Hat Insights and smart management. And we have Satellite, which is also part of that automation and cloud tools suite. Then we get to probably my favorite part. I like the developers, but I'm in consulting. So we can help you accelerate your cloud journey with the Red Hat Open Hybrid Cloud strategy. We have all the proven techniques. We have the SMEs, right? The subject matter experts. We have the deep integration with the technology. All of this, can help you as you just, start to kind of architect and design your own hybrid cloud platform. Maybe you're doing some migrations from some legacy infrastructure, or hey, maybe you want to keep the legacy infrastructure because it's working, right? help you manage environments across all of the different multiple clouds and data centers that exist in your environment, all while improving security in your compliance posture. It's a big thing in cloud native spaces, the security and compliance. So if you want help to implement your Red Hat Open Hybrid Cloud, and you want help accelerating your digital transformation with an integrated approach, call Red Hat Consulting. We have the open source tools, we have the processes, we have the strategies for measuring, we have the strategies that you can use to get measurable, metrics-driven results. And so if you see here on the top right of my screen, if you want to learn more, you can go to this short link, red.ht/hybrid. So you can access our strategy guide and you can schedule the time to talk to a Red Hat expert. So thank you for taking the time to learn about Red Hat's Open Hybrid Cloud strategy. And I wish you all the best throughout your cloud journey. Thank you and have a wonderful, nice day. Bye.
Thank you, Greg. That was a fantastic presentation. We really appreciate our partners over at Red Hat. So with that, we are still experiencing some... We can get that muted. Is that Danielle dialing in? All right, well, we are still waiting for Danielle to dial in for the keynote presentation. Hopefully she'll be on in just a few minutes. But in the meantime, we thought we would take a moment to make this a more interactive summit than normal. And we're going to pop up our poll questions first. So we really want to get our audience engaged and, thinking. I saw that one of the questions came through for Greg, and Greg is not online anymore, but we will definitely pass this on to him. The question is if OCP and RHCOS have achieved DISTA STIG compliance yet. So we will pass that information along to Greg and get an answer back to you. Thank you for your questions and your comments, and please feel free to keep them coming as we go. But with that, we're going to go ahead and pop up our first poll question of the day, and that is, what's the biggest internal or external change impacting your team this year? And your options for that include securing a remote workforce, zero trust mandates, new compliance requirements, new manager or leadership, cloud migration projects, third-party access, or an other. So go ahead and answer that. And if you answer these, you will receive your CPE credits for being here today. And then afterwards, we will pop up the responses to that. And if you were to choose other and the option is not available, maybe you can go ahead and post it in the chat so that we can see what other options that we didn't include in this poll are. So please go ahead and answer that. And then once our poll host feels like we've received enough responses, we'll go ahead and put that up on our screen. So again, for those at home, make sure to respond. Okay, let's see what got the most responses. So it looks like cloud migration projects followed by securing a remote workforce. But we're kind of all over the place. I'm curious what the other response would be. So if you at home could let me know, that would be fantastic. And I see our panelists for the next panel are slowly joining us, and we'll go ahead and pop up another poll question then. Okay, how important is emerging technology to federal digital transformation? And your options include very important, important, not important, or you do not know. So please go ahead and answer that for us. Let's see how important folks think that emerging technology is to federal digital transformation, which we will definitely be getting into during our panel discussions. Okay, maybe we can go ahead and post that response. So luckily, most people feel that it is very important. I think that that is what most of us would be able to agree with at this point, but definitely excited to talk about that during our first panel discussion. And let's go ahead and post our third poll question. How far along would you say your agency is within their digital transformation journey? Please answer whether you are very far along, you are currently working on it, or you are in the process of starting, or you do not know. Okay. And let's go ahead and see the responses for that poll question. All right, so folks seem to be working on it currently. Not as many people feel like they're super far along, but we are in the process of starting it, or you're unaware. So, that makes me think, like, definitely ask your questions about how to get started on the digital transformation journey. We have some really incredible panel experts. I'm going to go ahead and begin our poll, or our panel one. We're a little bit, out of sorts with the agenda today, but we have all of our panelists online. So if panel one for the diving deeper into emerging technology within the federal government could please come on camera. I believe we are all here at this point, and we will go ahead and get started. Thank you all for being here. And again, for folks at home, please put your questions in the Q&A box down below. We will get to them during the discussion. And we've already done our polls, so we're not going to have to worry about that anymore. But I would like each of our panelists actually to go ahead and introduce themselves. So who you are, what agency you're with, what it is that you're currently working on, and anything else that you would like to share with our audience up top would be fantastic. So let's hear from Krista first, please.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me again on one of your ATARC panels. It's always such a pleasure to be a part of these. So I've been participating in ATARC for a number of years now across my federal career. And in March, I accepted a new role at the Department of Labor, leading our emerging technology initiatives here at the department. So I work within our Office of the Chief Information Officer, and I work very closely with our Chief Technology Officer, really to be evaluating the Department of Labor ecosystem, right, across all of the different agencies that OCIO supports, to be thinking about how can we be bringing new technologies, innovative technologies, to how we solve these really mission critical challenges that we're trying to get to. And I wanted to participate in one of the poll questions, right? The poll question was, how far along are you on your journey? And I would also say, we're working on it, right? I mean, I think that in its purest sense, I don't think you're ever really done with building your emerging technology program, because there's always new technologies. There's always the latest and greatest that's going to be coming out. But one of the things that I'm really trying to do in this role here at the Department of Labor is change how we think about innovation, change how we think about bringing new digital opportunities to the agency, because as we live in this more and more remote world, and as we interact with a public who is expecting more and more digital interaction, right? We want to be sure we're doing that in a way that is supportive of our mission, right? That is supportive of our workers and supportive of the communities that we support, and the communities that we interact with. And so I think that it's good that we're all working on this, because we're all going to learn lessons, and we're all going to be able to come back to these types of forums and say, I have tried this at my agency and it's really worked. And I think the other side of that, and this is really the critical piece of emerging technology, and again, that culture change and that mindset change that I'm trying to bring, is some of the things we're going to try are not going to work, and that's okay, right? And as a government, it's an incredibly hard thing to grasp, right? but we're trying to get there. So I'm really excited for what we're going to talk about today. I am certainly happy to share some of the work we've been doing at the Department of Labor, specifically as it relates to artificial intelligence and automation. There are a number of technologies that we are looking at. So Kirsten, did I cover what you wanted me to cover?
Yeah, that was fantastic. Thank you so much. Great way to kick us off. Next, let's hear from Shireen, please.
Hey, good morning, everybody, and thank you for inviting me to this panel. I think it's probably my third event with ATARC for the past 2 months. So thank you, Kristen, and thank you, fellow panelists, Adam, Krista, and Andrew. So rest of you, I'm Cherian Swingan. I'm Chief Architect at National Science Foundation. I also informally play the role of Chief Technology Officer. I lead the technology innovation efforts of the agency. So as you may have already noticed, NSF as an agency is going through a major transformation to reestablish the US leadership in the field of science research. And for this, we are leveraging speed and scale in powering this transformation. And we all know IT is a big catalyst in this transformation. So to increase business agility, because the business is trying various new models to advance NSF mission, so we have added several new technologies to our portfolio, such as RPA, low code, and some of these are probably already graduating out of the emerging tech already, but I'm still going to mention them though. RPA, low code technologies, augmented intelligence. We even have a couple of blockchain experiments underway, and I see our dear partner, Adam, who has been an active partner in this experiment, actually. So I'm here to share all of experience, feedback, and then take your feedback, and looking for the discussion today.
I was about to talk on mute. You think I would have learned by now. Thank you, Sherian. Adam?
Good morning, everyone. Adam Goldberg. I'm the Acting Assistant Commissioner for Financial Innovation at the Bureau of the Fiscal Service. If those of you who don't know what the Fiscal Service is, but you've ever paid taxes or you received an economic stimulus payment, that transaction actually goes through our organization. So we do that work as well as run security auctions that actually fund federal government operations. I was looking at some of the questions that we're gonna be asked later. I don't want to spoil it now, but when we think about emerging technology isn't this concept that just happened today. Emerging technology is something that's existed, all throughout the business landscape. I might call a telephone or a computer emerging technology, but I think the question is, what's different about emerging technology today that is from emerging technology previously? I think one of those items is actually data and the importance of data in order to make these technologies work. I think more so, or more importantly than even how we did things in earlier times. So as an example, enterprise resource planning software, we need to have data to make that operate, but somehow we found ways to work around it and kind of keep paper in play. I think in order to maximize emerging technologies today, we really need to look at that data footprint and use data to help us transform the organization. And that's one of the things that my organization does, which is we evaluate emerging technologies and ultimately hope to serve as a catalyst for those technologies across the federal financial management space. So thank you. This is actually my first ATARC event and looking forward to hopefully doing more in the future.
Thank you. We're happy to have you. And Andrew.
Yes, thank you for having me today. My name is Andrew Weltrell from Savient, and really my focus in the federal community is really just help to make sure that we can implement this or provide ways to implement this concept of least privilege. And it's a concept we've talked about for a long time. But what it really comes down to is helping to kind of close that last gap of making sure people have the right access to the right, not just generally the right resources, but the actual right entitlements, which on its face of it certainly is something you want to go for. But when you start to think about the impact, it really has an impact on being able to de-risk a lot of these technologies that we want to do, but we may be holding back on. So it really can have a huge impact on speed, because as we de-risk that activity, all of a sudden we can go at the speed of technology and not have anything hold us back. So big focus area for us here.
Fantastic. So diving deeper into emerging technology with the federal government, I want to go around, and if you could share a little bit more about your journey and including a transformation. I know that that's a big question, but how can you kind of like set the tone for what it was at your agency that you did to, progress and move along to where you are today? And then after that, we're going to talk about challenges, obstacles, best practices, and strategies. So right now, let's just focus more on the transformation journey side. Krista, I'll start with you again.
Yeah, absolutely. So I will tell you my story. It is certainly not the only story of transformation at the Department of Labor, or really across government, but I think it's a really good illustration. And I think that it shows that it's not just about technology, it's really about people as well. So I actually started working with the Department of Labor when I was over at GSA at the Centers of Excellence. And I actually do think that this is just a success story of how partnering across government can really drive adoption of new technologies. So the Department of Labor had decided that perhaps this new technology, which I think Cherian pointed out is probably not so new anymore, but RPA, robotics process automation, might be able to help out with some of the business challenges that a number of agencies had been facing at DOL. And so we decided that procurement was the space that we wanted to begin with. And really it was an open space. There were not any bots in this environment. People did not know what a bot was. The first day when I came in and said that a bot, we were going to be building bots, right? People looked at me and thought robots were going to be walking the halls of the Francis Perkins building. They are not. There are no robots in the Francis Perkins building, at least yet. And there was a lot of hesitance. There was a lot of just like, why are we fixing things that aren't broken, or why are we changing things, right? But we really just wanted to see, can we do this? Let's start small and see if we can do this. And over the course of about 6 months, we decided to build 3 pilot bots. And once we deployed those pilot bots into production, we had already begun to see some minds change. And then as we built out the enterprise platform capability and we onboarded more people, that's really when I started to see mindsets change. I started to see leadership say, oh, we can start bringing in these new technologies. And in fact, that is where the inspiration for this new emerging technologies group that I lead came from. And it said, all right, so we were able to do this successfully. We were able to look at this technology that many, many organizations have already started to adopt, that DOL was hesitant to adopt, and try it out in a small and controlled environment, assess, learn some lessons, and build. We want to do this for a lot of new technologies, not just automation. And that's really where my branch was born. And we've already seen a lot of uptake, right? And really my goal here is to create a space in which we can do that, right? In a controlled environment, look at a new technology, try it out on some use cases and say, is this worth making an enterprise capability, making it available to the entire organization? Is it still even worth doing if it only benefits a few different agencies? And it really has flourished. And folks that were afraid of robots walking the halls of Francis Perkins building, right? They're coming to me saying, hey, I do this thing every day. How do you think technology might be able to solve this problem, right? Or I go to my leadership, right? Who before, when I would come to them and say, I need your support because I'm building these bots, wouldn't give me the time of day. Now they're like, yes, let's make this happen, right? And so really my journey at Labor is about trying technology, seeing how it works, right? And bots are really just an example. And I think that the tip of the iceberg in what we can explore, but also helping people along the way, right? Helping them understand the technology, helping them understand how it really benefits the work that they're doing so that they really are empowered to be the best that they can be at their job. And I think that is sometimes a part that is missing from these technology conversations. We're constantly talking about, does the technology work? Does it solve the problem? What do we need to buy? What do we need to procure? When really it needs to start with, how can we help you do your job to the best of your ability? How can we empower you as a federal worker to really be able to meet that mission through the use of some of these new technologies? And it's worked out incredibly well, right? We went from 3 bots to test out to now we're going to have over 10 bots in production at the start of the new fiscal year. And I'm so excited about that. We have a number of AI projects that we've taken on. We have people coming to me with these technologies that they've heard of that they never would have dreamed of being able to bring to their organization, saying, well, let's try it out. So I'm incredibly excited about the work that we're doing here at Labor. And I think that a year from now, we're going to have so much to show with this kind of new excitement around bringing in new technologies. So I hope that story helps illustrate how we've brought some new digital transformation to our processes, and shows, right, just you gotta keep pushing sometimes.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. I love that. That's amazing. And then Shirian, could you please speak to your transformation journey over at NSF?
Before I begin my story, I want to highlight what Krista mentioned. The mindset change and the culture change is very important. We have our own story how that happened, but that's the key in really how you energize the group around you in stimulating innovation using emerging technologies. So to our story, National Science Foundation, we consider ourselves as the R&D agency for the government. So most of our mission, most of our IT is mission-focused IT. You know, we grants management is a bread and butter. We have a bunch of mission support systems like every other agency, like finance, HR, admin. So I'm just going to rewind 10 years ago. We were probably the first agency to really move emails to the cloud, even before FedRAMP was stood up. We moved to the commercial, and then we had a government environment created, and we had one more time. So we have been really working on modernizing our IT services. But here's what happened in the early, like I would say 2012, 13, 14 timeframe. As we started modernizing our IT, we started opening up our systems. For example, we didn't have a data warehouse or a business intelligence solution 15 years ago or 13 years ago. So we opened up that. So we implemented a business intelligence solution. We found a community of interest, and guess what? We opened up the agency data, and that stimulated a lot of innovation. I'll come back to that. We also started opening up APIs around our IT services. So what we saw was, as you start empowering the end users, the ideas for innovation really persist in the business side of the users, because they really sit closer to the problem than as an IT person I am sitting, right? So this soon really transformed into a bunch of local innovations. And what we saw in early 2017, 2016 timeframe is a lot of local entrepreneurs coming up with creative ideas to solve problems. And this could be using machine learning tactics or some local desktop-based automations. So a lot of these things started popping up. Now, we sat together in 2017 again. At the time, we also moved to the new office in Alexandria. We said, how do we harness this great energy around us? And we started a group called Innovation Management Group. This was a voluntary group that was stood up by our CIO. So we invited all these business people, data experts, IT, program, whatnot. Everybody's welcome. It's a lunch event. We started talking about it. How do we, scale this local innovations into an enterprise scale solutions, and how this is solving some of the most important challenges we got in the agency. And guess what? This group started talking, and we had Our first, they championed scaling up a machine learning algorithm, which is used to identify reviewers for our proposals. It got scaled up in the next 18 months. We using this. I'm going to talk more about how this all worked though, so I'm just going to keep it as a secret for now. But yeah, this group really championed in scaling up some of these local innovations, getting it integrated into our enterprise services. So we have the same group is now managing a bunch of low-code innovations, robotic process automation. We have about 30 plus bots. We have 3 AIs operational fully at enterprise scale. We have about 10 plus AI, which is a nascent stage, which is going through the the scaling up process, the maturity process, I should say. And we have got a couple of blockchain experiments underway. So this all started, I would say, just going back to Krista's point about the mindset change, the culture change. When you open up your architecture, when you open up and empower the end user, the innovation starts right there. And then all you have to do is bring the right ingredients together, bring the right people together, and have them meet more often, talk about it, and innovation flourishes. So that's our crazy story. So thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you for sharing that. I love hearing about these stories. So Adam over at Treasury, please share your experience.
Sure. As I said in my introduction, emerging technology is not a new thing, and we've all been doing it throughout our kind of business careers and before that. But one of the things that we did at the Fiscal Service several years ago is a strategy study to look at what the current emerging technologies would be with respect to financial management. And that study came out with the things that we're all talking about: robotic process automation, blockchain, machine learning, natural language processing, advanced analytics, things like that. But our study also looked at a couple other things. And one of the recommendations that came out was there's also a lot of opportunity to unlock savings and efficiencies in what's termed end-to-end processes. So sometimes you may hear things like book to reimburse, which just is a fancy way to say travel, or order to cash, which might be just kind of buying something that you order and then you pay for, or record to report, which would be the whole financial reporting schedule. And so it kind of had a balance there about emerging technologies and end-to-end, which was saying, if you want to save money, this is where you focus. So in good government form, we followed the bright, shiny object and focused initially on these emerging technologies. And with like Charian and NSF, stood up some proofs of concept, like in the world of blockchain. But along the way, we are also realizing that we might be sub-optimizing in that approach, because oftentimes we're solving kind of very discrete problems or tasks. And oftentimes, like with robotic process automation, we are kind of automating a piece of something, but we're not always looking at the full end-to-end of that process and all the opportunities that may exist. So we went back to the report and we said, hey, you know what? Let's look at a different way. So rather than having a solution looking for a problem, let's find problems that then need solutions by looking at this end-to-end. And we've actually come out with a methodology called digital end-to-end efficiency. I'm sure if you search on that and the name FIT on the web, you'll come across our playbook there. And that methodology is really intended to help us identify what the best technology is to put in place. And so to go to this digital footprint that we're all looking at. So we're looking at some basic things like, one, do I even need to do what the process step is today to be successful? Sometimes we just do things because we've always done it, but there may be a better way to do it. Second is, are there current tools that will allow us to do this without making a new investment? So oftentimes we're also sub-optimizing the use of the existing applications within the organization. So if you're using one of the ERP packages, sometimes we don't know or don't realize all the things it could do. So we want to leverage what we have before we go and buy new. And then we need to start looking at kind of some other questions, which is this a task that is repetitive? Which means robotic process automation is probably an appropriate technology or things in that class to look. Or is this something that is really kind of cognitive or decision based, which means I need to mirror human thought, human decision factors, and that would lead us into things like artificial intelligence or machine learning, natural language processing. And so what we are trying to do is evaluate these end to ends and then pick the right technologies to get us to what I kind of term, or others term, as like a frictionless data, where I'm not actually just creating representations of paper in an electronic form, which is previously what a lot of people called digitizing. It's really nothing more than scanning paper and putting it on a screen and looking at how we can optimize. And to balance that, we also are trying to figure out how we can evaluate some of these technologies quicker. So in the work that we're doing with Cherry and NSF, it is a little bit of a larger project with blockchain, but we started out with blockchain very narrowly in a 4-month project just to learn what it does. Sometimes I term that as like a lab. So one thing is, and I think Krista was saying this, we need to just kind of figure out what that technology does and then understand how we can bring it into our organization. And so again, one of the things that we're trying to do is not become enamored with the technology and say, could I put a bot everywhere? But how do we do it in a thoughtful manner and make sure that we're making the investments and the correct investments in our enterprise moving forward?
Thank you for sharing that. And then Andrew, from the industry perspective, maybe you can speak a little bit about, how you at your company perceive transformation as a journey within these federal agencies.
Yes. So and I say there are many aspects of good news in a lot of this, and reflected on the rest of the panel as well. And I think one of the items that was mentioned was this concept of pilots. So we're seeing some success patterns on how agencies are seeing success themselves. One was kind of mentioned about this approach to do pilots, and certainly one of the challenges I've seen is kind of making the jump from an innovation lab, which is certainly important. Kind of how do you go from that to production? And this concept of having a mission focused pilot has definitely been crucial, because it's where you can take we talked about identity risk and assets a few minutes ago, but if you take just a narrow set of assets that could be at risk, identify a few users, and then kind of narrow that scope, it's something you can do many times quickly within less than a year, right? And all of a sudden you can have something you can show and provide some output, right? And make some bigger decisions on. The other pattern we've seen great success on, and even cost efficiency, is when you can partner an emerging pilot or emerging zero trust or cyber based emerging technology, along with a broader based business technology. So there's some other things like blockchain and those types of things. So if you can take the same teams that are working on one of those, partner that with a zero trust or cloud cyber emerging technology, a lot of times you can not only get bang for your buck, but you can actually see better outcomes at the same time. So you can actually get 2 projects out the door at the same time and get some great results. So just kind of a recommendation for an approach that we're seeing success on.
Great, thank you. And it looks like we had one audience question. If you could repeat the name of the playbook, we can search for it. Maybe that was Adam who shared about a playbook.
It's called Digital End-to-End Efficiency. And you can throw that in with like financial innovation and transformation, and it should send you the link.
All right, there you go. Thank you. So let's spend about 15 minutes here talking about challenges and obstacles. So keep your answers to about 3 or so minutes, but maybe you want to touch on the top challenge or obstacle that you're currently facing or have faced. And then later we'll talk about best practices and strategies to overcome. But we'll just continue in the same order then. Krista, if you could please share some top challenges, obstacles you've seen.
Sure. So, I mean, I think there's a lot, right? We could talk all day. I have way more than 3 minutes of 3 minutes of content on challenge and obstacles. But I think one big challenge is really getting to that, well, how, right? I feel like I go to many panels where folks say you need to be innovative, or you need to be thinking like this, or changing mindset, or right. And really, I think the question is, tactically, right? Like in our, how do we make this happen? Because that's really where I think a lot of your challenges are going to pop up. And so one of the things that I think is honestly just good structure around how you evaluate a new technology, right? So somebody is going to raise their hand in the agency and say, hey, you know what? I have this business challenge that is really, really hampering me in being able to deliver on my mission more efficiently or quickly, or I've got this certain challenge, right? How can we bring some kind of new technology to the table to help alleviate that? Well, right. I mean, I think that the key here is you can easily find yourself just with technology, right? And just immediately jumping to, we're going to build something really cool, right? Without trying to set up, well, how are you going to evaluate, like, what does success look like, right? At the end of this pilot, what are you going to do, right? Are you just going to say, great, we built a good pilot? Are you going to start to implement this? Are you just going to throw it over the wall, right? So I think that there needs to be some structure around, all right, let's make sure we have key definitions of success and we have a key understanding of the problem we are trying to solve, because I promise you this technology is not going to solve all of your problems, right? And some of those problems are not even solvable with technology, right? And so being able to break your problem down into questions of, well, can technology solve this problem? And if technology can solve this problem, what does that mean? Does that mean we have increased efficiency? Does that mean we are able to predict something at a certain rate? What is good enough, right? What is the definition of good enough? Because perfection, you're never going to get out of a piece of technology, right? If you're expecting some piece of AI or blockchain or whatever the case may be to come in and 100% solve your problem, it's not going to. Right? There is no magic wand that is going to solve all your problems. And so I think really being able to understand what is the problem we are solving, how are we going to evaluate this to be able to say, yes, we have met success on these levels, because it's one thing to answer the question, does the technology solve the problem? It is a completely different answer of, will this technology work in our environment, right? Just because you've identified that you want to custom train a machine learning algorithm to be able to read a bunch of natural language processing or a bunch of forms that come in a natural language in your organization. Great. So first of all right, so we've decided, sure, you do have enough data to train a model. It performs at a rate that you need it to. What are you going to do with it, right? You can't just go to an agency and say, well, here's your machine learning, right? You really have to wrap it up in this nice consumable package. And I think having that mindset from the beginning is going to help overcome some of those challenges, because one of the biggest challenges I've seen, and I think Andrew brought this up, is great. So you've done a pilot. You have shown that AI can do something. You've shown that blockchain can do something. Now what, right? And I think that thinking about it at the beginning and really planning for success is a really great way to overcome some of those challenges. Because if you don't have success, it's easy enough to say, okay, we're done. Again, if you have those set definitions of this is what success is, oh, we didn't meet it on this, but we did meet it on this, then you can make a much more informed decision. So there's much more to cover on this, but I will stop there.
That was fantastic. Thank you for sharing that. Shireen, over to you. Same question.
Sure. From the challenges perspective, there are quite a few, but the top couple of things which pops up in my brain is, number one, adoption. This is a major factor when you really scale up your innovation. The million-dollar question is, why? I mean, I'm an end user. Why should I trust it? So that's the first thing. And the second thing I like to highlight is change management. I've been doing this in a certain way. Now you are coming in as a disruptor and you're just trying to show me a different way of doing the same thing. So these challenges often, come into the play. And if we don't take care of them very early in the stages, it really, there's a snowball effect later. It could be a biggest challenge for you to overcome eventually. So we have approached this with one kind of thing, So I mean, this solution really worked to solve both of these challenges. The way we did it is just we brought the people along in very early stages. So we would, if we are just coming up with an idea, somebody says, I have an idea how we can do this using a machine learning algorithm or solve using a robotic process automation, or even to the zero trust, whatever that is. We try to involve the stakeholders much ahead. And this includes the end users, who are impacted. We pick a couple of the pioneers, we put them in the mix. And guess what? When these people talk together, they really look at the challenge from different aspects. The end users are coming back and saying, have you thought about this? And the traditional IT operations people, they come with their own perspective. So it's a good discussion we have very early in the innovation stage or the incubation stage. Then we take them along as we graduate out of this labs environment, putting it in a nascent format. Then we do several micropilots involving the end users. And also at some point, we also make sure the people, the business people specifically who are involved in this innovation in the early stages really have the ownership of, they own this idea, so you just kind of give it to them. And what they do is they just involve their early adopters, like, they go to their friends, they talk about this, and you soon get a bunch of people who are already looking at your innovations, and then it scales up from there. So believe me, actually, we tried several ways of communication when it comes to innovation. We have sent weekly wire articles, we have sent videos, but guess what? The most effective, we have done road shows. The best one which works is word of mouth from their own trustable people, and that is so powerful in scaling up your innovation. So what the basic answer we had was to really bring people alongside as you innovate, and we have, using this approach, we have developed a framework for our innovation management group that we talked earlier. So we have like stages, various stages. We have the labs or research phase, which is really, we either do a market analysis or we put something in the labs and we try it out when somebody has a crazy idea. And the next step is nascent. So we are just taking this product, making sure the cybersecurity team is aware, making sure the policy and legal teams are aware. And we are making it available through a portal called Hopper, which is really, we designed an innovation portal for this. So we put it there and then we test it. And usually we have like 2 or 3 people using it at this stage and we get feedback. And these are like happening very quick, by the way, because the speed and scale matters here. And if we get good feedback, then we look to scale up and then we go to the mature phase. At that point, we will have some kind of endorsement from security. Policy says this looks good. Legal goes back and makes sure we are using the data right way. We are making sure we are going by the law and all that stuff. And then from there, you talk about scaling up. The option choices are you keep it as a distributed service, or you integrate with your central IT. So that's up to the governance and we let them play the game. But really, we have created this framework. We have implemented a labs environment. We have put a portal on top of it to mature these innovations. So this all happened in the past 2 to 3 years, I would say. And now we have our own funding from CPEC to focus on advancing this innovation. So it's a great story, inspiring story. So the challenge that how we overcome is to bring people along from the early stages. So that's my story.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, thank you. And Adam, I want to hear from you as well. Top challenges, obstacles that your agency currently is facing or has faced.
So sure, I'm going to give you 3 items. The first is going to be technology. When you start exploring emerging technology, don't assume that the CIO shop is just going to let you start installing all this stuff into your environment and the world is going to be happy. Even with RPA, it took us probably about 6 months to get the right permissions to even introduce this software into our environment. And that was just for a proof of concept. When we went to kind of production, it actually took us another 6 months to get those approvals, particularly in the environments that most of us work. There's a lot of complexities. and we need to make sure that the security is there. One of the things that we've done is we've said, well, what are the projects that we're doing that may not require that I use our technical environment, even our development environment today, and where might I be able to use a third party like a consulting firm to host that for us? But even more so, we've actually stood up a sandbox that allows us to do some things, and it doesn't touch our kind of production development environments. So first of all, don't underestimate how long it's going to take you to get some of this stuff in place. The second is change management. And I think Cherian kind of said this as well, but don't necessarily assume that everybody is going to embrace you and say, ooh, robotics, great. Because the first thing they're going to say is, well, what am I going to do if this bot does my work for me? And even in the world of artificial intelligence, I've had people come back and say, there's no way that a bot here can mimic my decision-making process. It's just too complicated. And so what we've done, and this is promoted in our digital end-to-end playbook, is use human-centered design. And within that technique, there's something called personas. And it's not just based on the view of the person who's executing the process, but it actually includes customers or suppliers or others that are involved in the process. And that really helps you bring some buy-in to the table with what you're doing, because they feel that they are actually being given a voice in what's being done. And again, it brings them into the fold. And the third thing is data. Can't emphasize this enough. If you don't have good, clean, machine readable data, these emerging technologies are going to be harder. We're currently working on a project where all of the data is actually in PDFs, and we actually have to extract the data out of the PDF, use some different techniques to actually make it machine readable and understandable. So again, if anyone has ever copy and pasted out of a PDF, it ain't clean. When it happens, there's weird spacing, there's weird returns, and we have to get that all cleaned up. The other part that we're learning with data is that we're finding that when the process is being executed today, we're using multiple sources of data that should say the same thing, but don't. And this was my point earlier about using and evaluating the end-to-end process, is when I just look at a single point of what we're doing and automating that, I'm missing out on a broader opportunity to clean other things up, like the fact that I shouldn't have 3 different sources of data. It should be one source. And how do I get to that point? So good, clean, machine readable data is really central to success here.
Love it. Thank you. And then Andrew, from the industry perspective, do these challenges resonate? Is this what you typically see, or what kind of advice would you give to your customers?
Yes, it definitely resonates in understanding the challenges and with regards to kind of be able to move forward. And one of the kind of specific things we see as well is kind of what you might say like a risk hesitancy, and definitely understandable, right? Because these are new technologies and things that people haven't touched as much before. The good news I would definitely put out there is there's been a lot of work. I think Kristen mentioned doing work with the GSA before. There's the FedRAMP catalog and marketplace out there. And the biggest thing I would quickly highlight is it really does 2 things. One, it brings a transparency to a set of capabilities and products are out there, and basically anything that is out there. I mean, Savient's out there, but there's many others. And the great thing too, to kind of summarize is one, you can get transparency, understand what kind of risk packages are to kind of support the products that are in that space. And 2, many times it's not just someone mentioned the silver bullet. One times it may not be one component to help solve that problem, but it might need to be multiple that you package together. So a lot of times you can use things that are in that marketplace to build a bigger solution of composable parts. So definitely some strategies to help reduce risk and hopefully communicate value up to the, I think as Adam was mentioning, up to the CIO and others higher offices to communicate to get things started. So just something else to look at. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you guys. These are incredible insights. So much value in information sharing. So that being said, as we wrap up this panel discussion, I just want to hear from each of you in a couple minutes or less. What do you want to leave our audience with? What do you feel like a really key takeaway could be from this discussion? Anything that you want to share as well? This would be the time to do it. So Krista, we will kick it off / wrap it up with you first.
Sure. So I think my ending comments are going to be there's going to be a couple parts to it. And so I think one is absolutely start investing in emerging technology. And I don't just mean individually, you should try a new project. I think that as an organization, really encouraging leadership to coalesce around, we need to fund this. We need to invest people. We need to invest time and energy and resources into it. One of the things that our CIO, Gundeep Ahluwalia, says often is, sometimes we get so busy pushing this very heavy cart that has square wheels on it. And we're just so busy pushing the cart that we can't even look over here when someone comes along and says, hey guys, I made a round wheel. It's going to make your job so much easier. We're so busy pushing the cart. We can't even stop it for 2 seconds to say, oh, this might make our job way easier. So I think getting leadership support and champions for making sure we do take that breath up, take that stop and say, oh, look, there may be something that is going to make this easier for us is a key. And I think the second thing that I'll leave with is we have to change our mentality around the definition of success, right? I mean, I think even if you look at the way the procurement process is set up or the way that projects get funded, right? You are assuming that you will succeed 100% from the onset, right? Which with emerging technology may or may not be true, right? You may get any range of success in there. So changing our mentality around success being success or failure to really being able to say there are degrees of success and all of those degrees provide value to the organization, right? So not looking at a project, let's say you wanted to do an AI project, right? And maybe you learn that your data is not in a format that you are able to use machine learning at this point. But you have learned a lot about your data, right? So that is still a success story, even though you didn't hit the mile marker you were hoping to. So changing that definition of success from success or failure to we succeed along a spectrum is really going to enable organizations to, I think, see the value and see the benefit of emerging technology.
I love that. Thank you so much. It's fantastic. And over to you, Sherian.
My comments would be very similar to Krista. So often when you are into this innovation space or thinking about using emerging technologies, you have to have this thinking outside the box mentality. When you do that, and especially you're trying to get and everybody endorses it, you're not going to make a lot of good friends. So people are going to be asking a lot of questions. They're going to see you as a disruptor. I have a few tips how you overcome this challenge, and this is based upon my own experience. First thing I'm going to say, be agile and nimble. Don't look at the end, where you want to be. Just try to work it iterative. Second is, I think this is what Krista was saying, apply fail fast, fail early tactic. Do something small, and if it fails, you still succeeded because you learned something which is not going to work. If it's successful, then look at options how you want to scale that. And then the next one I would say is willing to take risk, especially when you're thinking outside the box, when you're really going after these emerging. That's why it's emerging, because it's not well sorted out. So you have to take certain risk, and it has to be calculated. The next one I would say is identify partnerships, because sometimes when you really have to get things moving, you need good partnerships. And for us, we got a great partnership, for example, like Adam from Treasury on our blockchain experiment. So the next one I'm going to say is, again, I think, Adam, you mentioned this design-centered thinking. Think from the customer-centric perspective. You're going to get the best solution when you do it. And start thinking early about ethical use of it, because this is very, very important one. I keep highlighting this in all my events, and also both inside and outside. We have been in this. I mean, I'm a technician and I'm a technologist, I would say. The way I grew up is, oh, I got this crazy algorithm, I'm going to exploit it. I got this great data, how do I train it? And how do I create an automation? All these crazy things. But never in my mind, I thought about the ethical aspects. Is it a good thing I'm doing to the community? How can this invention make people's life better? So that is the thinking that you need to have day one when you start thinking about this great crazy idea. If you don't so, then the problem bubbles up again. It's a snowball effect, and when you really implement solution, you're going to get a lot of feedback that your solution is biased, it doesn't work for this group of people, so all these crazy chances. So think about how you factor these very early stages and think about the ethical and use of it, responsible use of it, and be a good invention to the society. So make that as an important factor when you try to invent. So that's my feedback and to the group. Thank you.
Thank you. And over to you, Adam.
Sure. I'm going to highlight two things that hopefully will be repetitive just to reinforce them. Data. Again, these technologies are very dependent on good, clean, machine readable information, and that really needs to be a focal point. Right now, we're trying to embark on a project related to chatbots. And one of the questions that we're asking the consultant that's going to be supporting us is help us understand what condition our data needs to be in for the chatbot to be optimized in our organization. Again, as I said, even on the web, we have lots of things in PDF. We run 20 plus contact centers. Everybody's using different scripts because they're all contact centers for different products that we offer. So we need to understand how we get that information into a knowledge base that the bot, that the technology can read effectively. The second is that emerging technology is not a panacea. It's not going to solve all your problems. And don't default to emerging technology because it's nice and bright and shiny. Don't forget about the things that you already have in-house. I'll give an example. I mentioned earlier, book to reimburse travel. Our consultant came back and said, to do this, you need blockchain, you need artificial intelligence, and you need intelligent OCR. And we kind of said, well, it doesn't seem practical to introduce all those technologies in processing a travel voucher. And so one of the examples they came back with was the intelligent OCR. And what we learned is that, yeah, we could make that investment to scan the traveler's receipts in, but I actually have an app on my phone that takes one of the government travel products, puts it in an app, and I can just snap a picture and upload it just to make it easier for the travel. But we don't always get the greatest return from going to the most technologically sophisticated solution here. So make sure that you look at what you already have before you make an investment in something new. Thank you.
Thank you. And Andrew, please wrap us up.
Yes, I'll put a call to action to approach these emerging technologies with confidence. You've got kind of supplementary technologies, kind of referenced a little bit here to help reduce the risk. But at the same time, we talked about some other just over like operational strategies, taking things in smaller chunks, getting buy-in and doing pilots where you can reduce it from operational risk. So combine those things, you should actually definitely be able to move forward in this emerging technology space and do it with confidence and don't wait. Do it today. Get started now.
Fantastic. This was such an excellent discussion. Thank you to our panelists. Truly appreciate you sharing these stories with us. So with that, everyone at home, we promised you our keynote and she is on, I believe, Danielle. So I'm going to go ahead and introduce her. She is our visionary keynote. We're a little out of order, but we will be hearing from Deputy Chief Information Officer for the Information Enterprise within the Office of the Department of Defense, Chief Information Officer, DoD, Danielle Metz. Danielle, I am going to hand it over to you.
Yes, thank you very much. My pleasure to be here. I would love to have been able to enter into Zoom, but we were having technical issues. And I think there's a joke somewhere since my discussion with you all today is on modernizing IT. So with that, good morning. Really appreciate everyone's flexibility by having the keynote take place a couple hours after the fact. I do want to thank you all for inviting me to be here today to share with you the digital modernization activities we're doing at the DoD-CIO. Our priority is to ensure that the department, and specifically the Secretary of Defense, has a modern, secure, and fully operational IT infrastructure to successfully carry out his mission. For so many years, the DoD has been focused on the modernization of weapons systems to meet or to deter the evolving threats from our adversaries. Today, wars are as likely to be fought in cyberspace as on a tactical battleground. The United States faces persistent cyber attacks from our increasingly capable and aggressive adversaries. Russia, China, and other hostile actors mount major cyber operations against America and our allies almost daily. They try to disrupt our economy, attack our country's infrastructure, and manipulate public opinion through the spread of disinformation. China and Russia are in direct competition to obtain status as the world's primary cyber threat. Neither Russia nor China have been deterred by diplomatic action, so we must focus on how to anticipate, identify, and develop resilience to cyber attacks. We at the DoD-CIO need to be able to transform data into actionable information and ensure our warfighters can consistently execute their missions, even in the face of persistent cyber threats. This is an enormous but not insurmountable challenge. Despite the heavy load of technical debt incurred by DoD, which includes a plethora of outdated tools and a persistent lack of interoperability, we at the DoD-CIO have both the vision and blueprint needed to bridge the vast divide between our current environment and our vision for tomorrow's DoD. The DoD digital modernization is not a thing we do once and then we're done. Industry keeps moving and changing the digital bar, so our efforts at modernization must be repeatable and scalable. Successful large-scale transformation requires a holistic understanding of our IT landscape before we jump headlong into major transformation efforts. We frequently review and revise our policies and standards documents, analyze and re-engineer inefficient processes, and manage our IT inventory data. This practice has allowed us to be in a place where we can now rapidly acquire, develop, and field IT to meet the challenges of cyber warfare. We're always looking for ways to improve, optimize, and secure our networks, cloud, data architecture, and software capabilities to ensure the warfighter has the right information when and where they need it. We think collaboration is critical to success, so we team with our mission partners across DoD to develop and execute strategies that guide us toward our vision, ensure we have funding in place, and adopt updated acquisition processes so that we have access to resources as we need them. We have adopted agile processes that enable us to quickly provide minimum viable products and enable the iterative rollout of new capabilities as building blocks as they pass their development, testing, and cybersecurity gates. These practices have proven to be successful with several major initiatives, including the development of the Mission Partner Cloud environment that allows for the secure collaboration between DoD and foreign agencies. Our Mission Partner environment provides the ability for DoD and mission partners to exchange information with all participants within a specific partnership or coalition, and supports commanders' execution of critical joint warfighting functions, such as command and control, intelligence, fires, movement and maneuver, and sustainment. Another major effort that's been successful is our cloud and data center optimization initiative. The DoD warfighter requires a rapidly scalable information environment that transforms data into actionable information quickly and efficiently, and our current environment was not meeting this need. Since 2010, the DoD has closed over 1,400 data centers, with hundreds more scheduled to close as systems continue to migrate to more effective, efficient, and secure environments. In late 2018, my office focused on cloud adoption and data center consolidation with 14 defense agencies and field activities, or as we call them, the DAFAs, as part of the DoD's IT reform activities. We started this initiative in earnest with the goal of moving 960 individual systems to targeted cloud environments and closing 60 data centers by fourth quarter FY21. To date, we have completed 80% of our goal on target and have action plans in place to complete the remaining 20% by next year. The DAFs now have the ability to leverage modern compute and storage capabilities and build native apps in the cloud, neither of which were accessible to them when they were bound to their physical data centers. In addition, this initiative laid the groundwork to implement IT portfolio management across the department. While portfolio management may sound like a boring back office process, our goal is to implement an analytic framework that will provide quality, actionable information to the DSD and her senior decision makers beyond the DoD CIO to ensure our funding decisions are properly aligned to strategic transformation initiatives across the department. As we embark on executing the department-wide IT portfolio management effort to optimize our technology capabilities and revitalize our investment planning, it is imperative for us to establish an analytic framework to assess IT investments. This framework will also ensure we are using quality data to drive decision-making and integrate with key DoD business processes to implement and enforce recommendations for optimization and modernization. In doing this, we will enable DoD CIO to track what IT capabilities are non-compliant with policies, strategies, and architectures, what portion of the DoD IT budget is aligned to non-compliant capabilities, and what capabilities are executing modernization plans. We are developing metrics and targets to track the improvement of data sources that are critical in supporting this framework. These metrics will address the data quality of each authoritative data source, the optimization of the data sources themselves, and the interoperability between data sources and other DoD platforms. We will then integrate the IT portfolio management process with the DoD budget cycle to ensure resources reflect IT portfolio management decisions and that resulting initiatives have the funding they require. And this is the purpose of IT portfolio management, to enable senior leaders across the department, including the DSD, to make informed decisions on how they modernize IT by enabling them to look at budget data tied to the performance of their IT against the department's IT strategy and current guidance. Our Cloud and Software Modernization Initiative is working to unify DoD's efforts to mature the DoD Enterprise Cloud environment and transform the department's software delivery processes. Software and our ability, our ability to rapidly deliver resilient software-based innovations are an increasingly critical component of mission success and a driver of our military advantage. Improvements in software acquisition and delivery are essential to advancing our weapon systems and mission capabilities with game-changing enhancements, such as artificial intelligence and advanced cyber capabilities. A core component of our software modernization vision is DevSecOps, a modern approach to information technology delivery, focused on the seamless integration of development, security, and operations. DevSecOps is built on extensive automation with continuous monitoring and integrated security throughout all phases of the software lifecycle. The Software Modernization Senior Steering Group, which I co-chair with the Undersecretaries for Acquisition and Sustainment and Research and Engineering, is working collaboratively to accelerate DevSecOps adoption across the department by delivering enterprise services and updates to IT and acquisition policy and guidance. As part of our software modernization efforts, we have partnered with IT leaders to scale modern software practices throughout the department and deliver the critical capabilities, standards, and policies to enable a portfolio of best-in-class IT capabilities. Our software modernization and DoD Enterprise Cloud initiatives are a large part of the department's effort to modernize IT across the enterprise and provide the modern digital infrastructure required to defend against cyber attacks, as well as enable machine learning and artificial intelligence. Right now, different DoD components manage many of the department's networks, data centers, and clouds. By consolidating these various efforts at the enterprise level, we will enable the CIO to provide greater security and ensure greater reliability of the department's digital infrastructure. Our software modernization and cloud initiative, like many of our current efforts, relies heavily on engagement and continuous collaboration across the department with DoD components and military services. We are working to normalize joint efforts versus individual achievements so that we can ensure interoperability and security, field enterprise capabilities, reduce administrative burden of multiple acquisitions, and realize economies of scale. After all, no one wins wars alone. We're stronger together. We've recently released the DoD outside of the continental U.S. cloud strategy, which was developed in collaboration with Joint Staff J6 and the combatant commands. This strategy is a companion document to the 2018 DoD cloud strategy, and it outlines goals and objectives to bring cloud computing to the tactical edge in support of the warfighter. Some of you may be familiar with JEDI. This initiative was canceled in July and replaced with the Joint Warfighting Cloud capability. JWCC more accurately reflects current technical advancements and marketplace changes that have occurred since JEDI was first envisioned, and takes into account how the department itself has matured its cloud technology utilization in the past 3.5 years. DoD is in the process of completing its market research and is actively pursuing the JWCC contract. The intent is to provide the warfighter with an enterprise multi-vendor, multi-cloud solution as quickly as possible, and the department intends to make awards within the next 9 to 12 months. In early spring of 2020, the emergence and impending threat of COVID-19 compelled us to accelerate our ongoing modernization initiatives by focusing on a new challenge. In response, the DoD CIO and DISA deployed the Commercial Virtual Remote Environment, or CVR. CVR was essentially a modified Microsoft Teams environment that allowed for the collaboration of remote workers. Typical projects of this size frequently take more than a year from design to deployment. The CVR was established in under 60 days and was the largest Microsoft Teams deployment in the world. CVR served as a catalyst for the department and sparked the development of our most recent transformation initiative, DoD 365. DoD 365 became the enduring solution in June for the department and was shaped by our experiences with CVR, especially in terms of workforce needs for mobility and remote capabilities. Later this summer or early fall, we plan to introduce additional capabilities for managed personal devices, including mobile, desktop, or laptop access to DoD 365 without the user needing to be on the NIPRNet. Most recently, we focused on developing an IL6 environment for DoD 365 so that DoD personnel working on the secure network and in secure facilities can have the same capabilities as those working on the unclassified network. An IL6 environment will provide all DoD employees with the same secure office capabilities and transform how they collaborate in the secure environment. Facilitating transformation in a large organization is hard. We hit many roadblocks as we do the work of modernizing the department's digital infrastructure, but we don't let the roadblocks stop us. We learn from our missteps and identify what we must change so that our next try is more successful. We have a lot of work ahead of us, and if we do it right, we'll have a transformation process in place that will help the department face new challenges long after we're gone. As we strengthen the department's ability to meet cyber threats, we know the department has unique mission requirements and challenges. Industry does not and will not always have suitable solutions readily available to address these unique demands. It's important that we mitigate this by working with industry to help shape technology, even as we are consumers of it. We must look ahead and strategize for tomorrow's mission challenges and anticipate the threats we will face as technology continues its rapid pace of development and our adversaries continue to become more technologically advanced. I look forward to helping shape a DoD CIO that can meet these challenges head on. I'd like to thank you again for giving me the opportunity to speak with you today. It was my pleasure to be here.
Thank you so much, Danielle. We really appreciate the keynote. And next up, I would like to welcome our second technology talk of the day. We have SVP for Product Marketing at Acquia, Kevin Cochran. Kevin, over to you.
Great, thank you so much. And so exciting to follow up after that really inspiring keynote. And what I'd like to do is I'd like to build upon the concept of modernizing IT with the discussion around the rise of the citizen developer. As we heard, rethinking our processes for how we build and deploy digital applications, new digital experiences, and new digital capabilities requires a different and more radical way of thinking. How do we speed innovation? How do we make the innovations we speed to market more secure? And ultimately, we need to have a radical rethink about leveraging new technologies, particularly low-code, no-code tools, to enable every agency employee to take responsibility for delivering a digital-first future. And the reason for this is, frankly, despite all of our investment in IT, we have simply not been able to move fast enough. And as we saw in the pandemic, having to shift to a fully digital workplace and shift to a fully digital first government to enable citizens who are quarantined at home to be able to access vital government services and information, we simply realized that we could not speed to market quickly enough new capabilities and new sites and information to meet the demands of our changing world. Fully 52% of agency IT departments say that there are big skill gaps to enable them to build innovative, secure digital experiences for the citizen. And agency leaders simply feel that they're falling behind in their modernization efforts. And what we've identified here at Acquia is a very fundamental problem. Our workflows are broken. The steps to building and deploying an engaging citizen experience has a number of different steps, from designing the site and mocking it up and starting to custom code and starting to pull in content and starting to templatize and so on and so forth. And the handoffs between the people that are responsible for envisioning what that experience should look like and the people responsible for maintaining and publishing information to engage the citizen, in the middle is this huge development bottleneck. And unfortunately, that bottleneck only is worsened as new experiences are deployed and there's ever more changing requirements from agency employees to update and refresh all of the information and services that are available to citizens. It's slow, it's expensive, and unfortunately, the problem only gets worse over time. So the old paradigm for creating a new digital experience for your citizens, it's too long and it takes too much time and resources. As we just heard, there are so many other things to modernize in digital government, starting to employ new capabilities around AI and ML, starting to invest in new forms of threat detection, having developers having to spend so much of their time building and deploying content and digital experiences that could be put in the hands of the agency workers. We have an opportunity to fix a broken workflow and apply scarce development resources to higher value innovative activities, and in turn empower everyday agency workers to take charge of their digital destiny. A simple question to ask is, how long did it take you to build, and update your site post-pandemic? Did it take 3 months, 6 months? Did it take longer? Have you been able to do it yet? Well, this is the challenge that the old workflow engenders. So the new paradigm is to leverage new low-code, no-code tools to empower designers to work directly with agency workers and eliminate custom development altogether. Have the developer focus on building new business capabilities, on packaging those business capabilities, and let designers and regular everyday content authors take charge of building every single mobile application, every single new digital touch point. Why can't people be empowered to take charge of digital products and digital modernization of digital government? The answer is they can. We need to think differently about the workflow. We need to empower them with new tools. And The empowerment has to take place across the entire life cycle of an application and meet the needs of every single stakeholder, from the site builders to the developers who want to work on innovative capabilities and not have to build every single web page, to InfoSec, because the entire DevSecOps process needs to be industrialized so that every new digital property, every new digital product, every new piece of digital content is secure by design. Everything has to be automated in terms of the security checking, because as we empower more people with new tools, we have to ensure that those tools are hardened, that there are no holes, and that everything that they deliver is by design from the get-go secure. So what we are now enabling in Acquia, working with all of our federal government, state and local government customers, is to help them rethink how they design new digital properties, set up overall templates for brand governance so that they can enable every agency and every agency worker to work from a pre-approved design system so that everything that they put in place is accessible, is compliant, and is readily consumable by everyday digital citizens. And we make it even easier because we actually have inventoried all of our government customers to identify the most common patterns for different types of experiences they're affording. And we ship them out of the box so that, simply put, you don't even need a designer, because everyday agency workers can just drag and drop and start building new innovative sites. And of course, we make everything reusable. So anything that is created can be put in a central library so that distributed teams, distributed agencies can all inherit from one master system. So there's absolute reuse of anything that's custom, so that once you build it, you can rinse, lather, and replete and replicate everywhere. And of course, it's really critical that we make the experience super easy and super fun so that everyday agency workers, when they get to the workplace, think critically about what is it that we need to communicate and share with our citizens, and let's just do it. Let's make it super easy so that it's not a burden, it's not a ticket request, it's not something that has to go to IT and wait for 6 months. If something needs to be communicated, simply publish and forget, and enable everyone to have immediacy of access to critical information so they can live a happy, healthy life. And of course, make sure that this scales across all agencies and all citizen touchpoints. And most importantly, DevSecOps is at the core of the production of any digital piece of content, any digital experience. And here at Acquia, there's nothing more that we pride ourselves more on than enabling a continuous innovation and continuous delivery pipeline for developers to deliver reusable application components, templates, and design systems to empower low-code, no-code tool-enabled agency workers to take control of their digital destiny, and making sure that entire pipeline of innovation is secure by design, fully managed, fully hardened, monitored by Acquia, so that digital government can be a digital fortress to enable a safe and secure citizen digital future. Thank you all.
Thank you so much. That was awesome. We really appreciate you sharing that with us. Next up, we have panel 2. If our panelists could please come on camera. And I'm going to have each of you introduce yourselves. So share with us who you are, what agency you're here representing, and anything else you'd like our audience to know up top. So with that, let's start with Erica, please.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Erica Thomas. I'm with OSD Comptroller. I'm the RPA program manager for my team. We started an RPA program about 3 years ago now, and we now have a shared service RPA platform. It's on the AWS Gov Cloud. We have multiple RPA options. I guess maybe I won't name the vendors, but we have more than one option on our platform. And not only does it support my immediate team and our RPA efforts, but it is a shared service platform that anyone in the DoD that may not have their own platform or may not want to have to go through the ATO process of standing up their own has the ability to join. So one of the things we've tried to do as we've stood up the infrastructure is make sure that that's available and open to others to help promulgate RPA across the department. And today we have 25 different organizations in DoD connected to our shared service platform with quite a few automations connected and running to the platform. And we're excited to see how we can expand this, including expanding my own immediate RPA program as well.
Love it. Thank you for the introduction. And Anne, I would like to hear from you next.
Great. Thanks for inviting me to join y'all. I'm the CIO of DOE. I've been at DOE for all of 3 months. So what I'm going to tell you about DOE's use of automation is a bit limited. But keep in mind that DOE has 17 national labs, along with our various headquarters elements, where we do everything from help ensure clean, safe energy to maintaining the nuclear deterrent. So it's a very broad mission, and we do a lot of basic research. And in that, we actually have our folks not only implementing automation, we're doing some of that in our office of the CIO, as well as developing new capabilities to deliver automation of technology. So I'm not going to pretend that I know everything that's going on at DOE yet, but I'll leave it there, and we can talk about some of the things we're trying to work on.
That works. Thank you. And over to you, Michael.
Hi, I'm Michael Pascal. Thank you for having me with you guys today. Very excited to talk about RPA with you guys. I work at USCIS. We're like a very IT-intensive agency. We process a lot of digital forms, a lot of paper forms that we digitize, a lot of systems connecting a lot of type of data. So, I know for me that I get really excited about this stuff because there aren't that many opportunities for all of us to come together and kind of talk about shared challenges that we face in the government or in industry. And today I'm going to kind of talk to you guys about some of our shared challenges, and some of and how we've structured our program. We have an enterprise approach at USCIS to make sure that everybody can automate consistently in the same way. We really work towards technical excellence to make sure that our bots are built for resiliency. So as I kind of talk to you about our program, it'll give you guys some insight about how we've overcome some challenges. And I invite you to please reach out afterwards if you have any questions, because I know there's never enough time to talk about this. So thank you for having me.
Thank you. And then over to Anil.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time zone that you're in. My name is Anil John. I'm the Technical Director of the Department of Homeland Security Silicon Valley Innovation Program. We're a program that was set up about 5 years ago in order to bring global talent and technology to address the various mission sets of our operational components. I do not have any background in RPA or the newfangled business process automation technologies. What I will speak to, obviously, is some of the things that can feed into any type of automation technology, particularly as it relates to AI and machine learning technologies, as it relates to predictive analytics, entity resolution, object recognition, and the like. And on the other side, when you are dealing with ensuring that you want to have confidence in the integrity and provenance of data, especially as the data is shared across multiple entities, how do you apply technologies such as distributed ledgers or blockchain technologies, or a variety of others, in a standardized manner to addressing those problems? So happy to contribute to those discussions from those points of view. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. And Brian?
Hi, everybody. Brian Moores with General Services Administration. I am the Senior Performance Improvement Analyst for the RPA division and GSA. And as such, I am the first person our customers see normally whenever they're interested in pursuing RPA. I help them identify opportunities. I help them document them, optimize them, and then hand them over to a developer to get it automated. And I'm happy to share my experiences in the last 3 years with the program with all you.
Thank you so much. And then John.
I'm sort of the anomaly here, as I'm from a vendor instead of an actual practitioner within the bounds of the GSA or government area. I've been doing this, as an organization, we've been delivering RPA for about 20 years. I've been doing this with Blue Prism for about the last 7 or 8, dealt with a number of our different government customers, as well as many of plethora of our corporate customers. So I'll share with you some of the experiences they've had. Neil had just spoken about things about, trust, the ability to engage and utilize AI and ML within the bounds of the areas. And I'll try to provide some background for that.
Thank you so much. So with that, we're going to go ahead and pop up our first poll question on this panel, knock that one out. And it is going to be, how far along is your agency in their automation journey? So for those at home, please go ahead and answer this to ensure you receive your CPE credits today. Your options for this poll, which should come up on your screen any second now, will include that you're very far along, you're working on it, you've started it, you want to start, but you don't know how. Hopefully we can answer some of those questions for you, or you don't know. So please pop up the poll question, answer it, and we'll just dive into the first part of the panel discussion. So keep in mind, we have a lot of panelists and a lot of ground to cover, so try and keep your answers under 2 minutes, if you will. But let's talk about benefits to automation and RPA, and speak mostly to your experience and your stories, because I know it's different, and yet we can all probably relate to similar, struggles as well. So Erica, if you could please start us off, we'll go in the same order. Benefits that you've seen to automation RPA at your agency, please.
So I think one of the, the main benefits that we've seen is that RPA is really a force multiplier. I know a lot of times when you talk to RPA programs, and even my own senior leadership, they want to hear about the number of labor hours redirected, and they want that kind of count. And that's important to measure that. However, what we've experienced in terms of the overall benefits, it's a force multiplier, and it really is an employee morale booster. The things that we are automating are things that either we can't get done because of the bandwidth that we have, or frankly, they're manual, mundane tasks that are really eating up a lot of people's time that would be better focused on other things. So our main benefits, again, has been that force multiplier, and I would say employee morale. In addition, you have the other standard benefits that you see of improving accuracy, more auditable, et cetera. All the automations have logs associated with those, where maybe if you have an employee doing this task all day long, you're not exactly sure what exactly may have been done, but every single automation has a detailed log that comes in as well. So a lot of benefits, but really it's the employee, the force multiplier that we've seen.
Yeah, that's great. And then, Anne, do you feel that those are the same benefits you've experienced? I know you're new to your agency, but even in your past life, what would you say? Are there any other additional benefits to automation and RPA?
Trying not to make background noise here. So I think I can elaborate a little bit more on that. I think it's certainly, we're all going to have a similar experience to where Erica is, I think. But the fact of the matter is, RPA, BPA, whatever, AI, ML, they're all tools that help us automate mundane tasks, sometimes complex tasks, sometimes easy tasks, but that are repetitive, that take up a lot of our employees' time and are usually, frankly, pretty boring. So we are able to take those employees who are doing that boring work, and in a lot of cases, therefore, subject to a lot of errors, and we're able to ask them to do something more important, more interesting, more using more of their intellect to get the work done, while those things that are, because they're boring or because they're complex and very detail oriented, are likely to cause someone to make a lot of errors, because over time, it's hard to focus on something like that over and over and over again all day. So it has those two benefits. Number one, really the ability to reduce errors. Number two, the ability to repurpose those folks to higher level work, on top of all the things Erica already mentioned.
Yeah, for sure. And do you ever receive any pushback, or this could go for any of the panelists as far as automating those tasks? How is it getting people on board for this type of automation overhaul?
So, I think the challenge with automation in any setting is that often people look at automation, they think you're trying to take their job away. And so what I have told people for many years now is that no one was ever laid off from a government job for lack of work. So if we take that work away and we will give you something more interesting, better, that will improve your skill set and give you more opportunities in the future. It doesn't change the fact that I've had some really difficult conversations, especially in organizations I've worked in with very strong unions. But it's an opportunity for employees to stretch and grow. And as I said, no one's going to get laid off because there's not work, but they might get laid off because there's not money. And that's an entirely different problem. So I really try and manage the pushback in that way. And I've been, successful, but not, it doesn't eliminate the concerns completely.
Mm-hmm. And Michael, as a program manager for, the RPA that you lead, are some of these benefits, do you have any additional benefits that you can think of that they haven't spoken about yet? Or what would you say to getting folks, on board for enhancing automation? Michael, you're muted.
I think it's, can you guys hear me now?
Yeah.
Awesome, mic check. So I think it's really like pasta, right? Like everything is in the sauce. It's about implementation. We have implemented it in a way that everybody is kind of welcome to the party. We call it our Center of Excellence, and that gives us the ability to have citizen developers. So if you want to develop, we have that capability. We can also train you. We also have robotics as a service, which is an internal team that can do development for people. And what I found is, in terms of the benefits, is a lot of people are actually looking for automation work. I think we've done a decent job, if I might say so, of kind of alleviating the fear of job replacement. We really emphasize that RPA is more about connecting systems and their data, right? We have these very IT-intensive systems that are transmitting a lot of important data, especially immigration data, with regards to people's lives. So you want to make sure it's done consistently. Our ability to automate, we have a development life cycle that it makes it so that everybody develops bots consistently. Everyone has to go through the same rigor and governance process. And then you get to see the benefit that all of these bots are touching systems in the same way, so that by the time somebody has to make an informed decision, they have all the data right in front of them. I mean, how many times have we spent an entire day compiling data, going through multiple systems, asking people for help, only to go in a meeting and be asked a barrage of questions, right? That's exhausting. So I think that people are seeing that automation, they're actually coming to us with ideas for how they can automate their work. And they're seeing it as an opportunity to be more informed decisions, consistent data, which reduces rework. It expedites the processing time for a lot of elements. I'll give you a quick example, if I may. So we have, the end of the fiscal year is coming up, right? September 30th. I bet all the contracting and procurement people on here are like, yeah, tell me about it, right? So we have some GAO findings, and one of them was for us to, close out 2 million pending cases. We have to have them resolved by the end of the year. Well, last week I get a call from one of my customers, and they're saying, I don't know how we're going to do that. We're in the midst of contracts being switched out right now. Like we are down people. And within a week and a half, by Friday, we will have a bot developed that's going to be able to close out 2 million of these cases. I mean, I don't think anybody's going to argue with that in terms of taking their job. They're going to see that we've just given them a tool that's going to allow them to be more informed, give them their time back to focus on the real challenges, and to help them. And at the end of the day, they're the ones who ask for it.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that with us. John, I see your hand is raised. Would you like to chime in?
Yeah, I think Michael made a fair point. Those that are informed and have been connected probably recognize that the bots aren't coming for their jobs. But what we've seen, unfortunately, is throughout all of this hype of RPA, is a lot of fear mongering with regards to the digital workers, the bots coming for jobs. And as Ann said, it's not the case at all. One of the key items that really wasn't raised in, what I often refer to as the quantity and quality of work being accomplished by a digital workforce, is this idea of also resiliency. And Michael sort of touched on it a little bit, but it's that ability not even to get through more work or get through work that people might make mistakes on, but being able to do it regardless of pandemics or anything of that sort. And it's one of those other key components that really should be raised in the conversation.
Thank you for that. I think I saw Brian and then Anil's hand. So Brian, go for it.
Sure, thanks. I want to pile onto what Michael said, but to what John was talking and Michael alluded to about, and actually Ann too, as far as losing jobs over RPA. Coming from a Lean Six Sigma background, one of the things that we're always taught as black belts is the day that you start cutting jobs as a result of your black belt or your RPA is the day that your program's going to lose any strength or any momentum. No one's going to support it. No one's going to want to participate with it as soon as you do that. But to add on to what Michael said about the systems, what I've found is, and I think every agency across federal government is the same, is you have these silos of systems that there's no transparency horizontally across those silos. And what RPA allows you to do is to level that, to make sure that everyone has transparency. Everyone that needs to know has transparency across those silos. And one example I'll give you, and we've just started scoping this out. So, and I'm kind of excited about it because I think it's a big opportunity, but our offboarding process. Right now, GSA has a 32-item checklist for offboarding, and it requires a person to go through like 30 different offices to have them sign off to say, no, it doesn't apply to me, or yes, I've done this. But all that information, or most of that information, resides in a repository somewhere, a system of record that's in its own silo. And so what we're envisioning is a future to where we can have an automatically generated offboarding checklist for any employee who's departing the agency that will only give them the checklist items that apply to them. So it's going to be personalized and it's going to be monitored. The status of that checklist is going to be monitored by the RPA, and it's going to be giving data back to like the chief of staff for each of the offices to say, you have 10 people who are offboarding, and here's the status of all those 10 people. Brian Moore's is offboarding, he's 50%,